My friends, you've been told that life is hard, that dreams are earned through struggle, and that only the strong win the favor of the universe. But I'm here to remind you of a quieter truth, a softer power, one that does not strain, push, or fight. Simply imagined, and because it imagines, it creates. Relax. The universe is not your enemy. Saudi, it is your mirror, and what it reflects is not your effort, but your state of being. You don't need to hustle the stars into alignment. They already orbit around your assumption. They bow to your inner world because your consciousness is the center of it all. The world you see is the world you've imagined, whether consciously or unconsciously. When you felt unworthy, the world echoed rejection. The uprising lasted. When you doubted, the world delayed. But when you believed, truly, gently, completely believed, didn't it move mountains to meet you? You see, the universe does not respond to your words or your willpower. It responds to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So ask yourself not, what do I want? But rather, who would I be if it were already mine? Feel it. To live there, not in effort, but in ease. You do not plant a seed and then dig it up every day to check its growth. You trust the process. You let the soil do its work. Likewise, once you have assumed your desire is real, once you've felt the truth of it, let it go. Let the universe do what it does best, rearrange itself around your state. Your only task is to dwell in the feeling of already having, not chasing, not forcing, just being. The world is not outside of you. It is within you, projected outward. You don't change the reflection by smashing the mirror. You change the image you hold inside. To hold a new image, relax into it, and let the universe, not your effort, do the rest. This is not magic. It is law. It's always been this way. In the moment you stop trying to make it happen, the moment you allow it to happen, relax. Close your eyes, feel the end, and walk this world as though it's already yours. Because it is. Not metaphorically, but literally. All that you see, hear, touch, taste, and experience is shaped, colored, and defined by the state of your own awareness. There is no outside world that operates independently of your perception. The events of your life, the people you meet, the circumstances you face, these are all reflections of your inner state of being. If you're angry, the world appears hostile. If you're in love, the world seems to shine with beauty. But the world hasn't changed. You have. And because you have, everything else bends to the image you carry inside. Every condition in your life is an echo of a self-concept you accepted as true. You are not observing reality, you are creating it, moment by moment, by what you believe to be real within yourself. When you begin to understand this, not intellectually but experientially, you stop trying to change the outer world. You realize that shifting your consciousness is the only change that matters, because from that all else flows. Everything is consciousness pushed out. People act in accordance with the roles you have assigned to them, often without knowing it. Situations resolve or unravel depending on whether you dwell in fear or faith. Your assumptions about life set the framework for how life responds to you. This is why struggle often leads nowhere. It addresses the mirror instead of the face. It treats the symptom while ignoring the cause. But when you return to the truth that your world is born of your awareness, you reclaim the operant power. You no longer need to force or fix. You simply assume the state of the one who already is, already has, already knows. From this place of inner conviction, outer facts begin to shift. Not because you imposed will, but because reality must conform to the pattern held within. You can only receive what you are conscious of being. To become rich, you must feel rich. To be loved, you must know yourself as lovable. To experience peace, you must carry peace inside. No other path leads there. What you accept as true in consciousness will harden into fact. Therefore, the only thing you ever need to work on is the self, your self-image, your beliefs, your felt sense of reality. The moment you embody the version of yourself that lives in your desired world, that world begins to form. This is not imagination as fantasy. This is imagination as causation. What you dare to feel as real will shape the very atoms of your universe. There is no power outside you. You are not a passive observer. You are the author, the dreamer of this dream. To awaken is to remember this. You do not observe reality. You are reality. And all that you see is your own consciousness made visible. This is not a poetic idea or a wishful sentiment. It is a precise truth about the nature of existence. Everything that exists in the world began first in the unseen realm of imagination. Every invention, every relationship, every moment of success or failure had its seed in thought, in a mental image, in a feeling quietly accepted as true before it ever took form in the outer world. Imagination is not idle fantasy. It is the creative act itself. When you imagine something vividly, with emotion and conviction, you are setting a blueprint in consciousness. That blueprint, though invisible to the senses, becomes a mold around which physical reality will begin to organize. The world obeys your inner imagery, whether you are conscious of using it or not. It is always responding, not to what you say or want, but to what you accept as real within the quiet theater of your mind. Most people use imagination destructively. They rehearse fears, repeat worries, replay disappointments. And because imagination is the mechanism of creation, those images begin to take shape in their lives. They don't realize that by emotionally investing in what they don't want, they are giving life to it. To imagine is to create, whether the image is joyful or dreadful. The law does not discriminate, it only reflects. But once you become aware of this power, you can begin to direct it. You can choose your images with intention. You can close your eyes and enter the scene of your fulfilled desire. You can feel yourself already being the person you wish to become, already possessing the thing you long for. And if you persist in that assumption, the outer world will rearrange to match the inner vision. It must. It has no choice. Reality cannot help but conform to the image held in imagination when that image is felt as fact. Meditation is the bridge between the seen and the unseen, the spiritual and the material. It is the instrument by which you transcend limitation, by which you bring the impossible into form. When used with faith and persistence, it overrides circumstance, time, and logic. What the senses deny, imagination affirms. And if held firmly enough, that affirmation becomes experience. You are never at the mercy of the world, because you are the one imagining it. The world is plastic to your thoughts and feelings. Every scene, every person, every outcome is shaped by what you dare to see and feel within. Nothing stands between you and your desire except your unwillingness to imagine it boldly and believe it is already so. To live consciously is to live imaginatively. It is to no longer wait for proof, but to create the proof from within. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, imagination begins to sculpt reality in your favor. You are not hoping, you are knowing. You are not wishing, you are being, and in that act of inner becoming, the outer world must obey. Enter the state of the end. Not hoping, not wanting, but knowing quietly and fully that what you desire is already yours. This is not about pretending or forcing belief. It is about shifting your identity to the one who has already received. It is about moving inwardly from lack to fulfillment, from separation to union, from desire to possession. And when you dwell in that inner conviction, the outer world must eventually conform. Assumption is not a mental game, it is a felt reality. When you assume the wish fulfilled, you are not looking for signs, you are living from the result. You think from it, speak from it, act from it, not to make it happen, but because in your inner world it already has. The change does not begin in the physical, it begins in your state of being. You do not become wealthy by chasing money. You become wealthy by assuming the feeling of abundance, and the world responds accordingly. This assumption, once made and persistently lived in, becomes your new state, and states are the only true causes. Everything in your life right now reflects the state you occupy. So if you wish to change your life, you must first change the state from which you think, feel, and perceive. You must occupy the version of yourself who already has what you desire, not by effort, but by imagination. To assume the wish fulfilled is to believe in the unseen more than the seen. It is to prioritize inner knowing over outer fact. It is to understand that appearances are temporary shadows, and that the real substance of life is within. The world will not confirm your desire until you no longer need it to. It only responds after you have already accepted the result internally. Live as though it is done, not to make it happen, but because within you it already has. Let your conversations, your choices, your moods reflect the reality you have claimed within. This is not delusion, this is creation. The one who assumes the wish fulfilled is not waiting, they are remembering. And the world bends to the one who remembers who they are. This law is simple. You must be the person who has it before you can have it. You must feel the love before the relationship comes. Embody the success before the opportunity arises. Walk in health before the body confirms it. When you fully inhabit the state of the wish fulfilled, the universe has no choice. It must deliver the form that matches your inner reality. Not because you demanded it, but because you became it, silently reflecting the contents of your inner life. It does not create for you. It only reveals what you have accepted as true about yourself and the world. Every circumstance, every person, every recurring pattern you experience is a reflection of a state you are occupying within. You do not see the world as it is. You see it as you are. If you hold assumptions of limitation, struggle, or unworthiness, the world will faithfully mirror those beliefs back to you through events, relationships, and outcomes. It does not judge. It does not question. It simply reflects. Like a mirror cannot show a smiling face unless you smile first, the world cannot show you abundance, peace, or love unless those are the states you embody. The law is impersonal, but it is exact. This is why changing the outer without addressing the inner is always temporary. You may change jobs, move cities, or end a relationship, but if the inner state remains the same, the outer form will simply reshape itself to reflect the same pattern. Life is not happening to you, it is happening through you from the inside out. When you truly understand this, you stop blaming others and stop fighting circumstances. You begin to look inward, to observe your assumptions, your reactions, your inner conversations. These are the roots. What grows from them is the world you walk through. If your outer world is chaotic or unsatisfying, it is not punishment, it is feedback. It is a signal inviting you to return to the source and shift what you are projecting. To create a different world, you must first imagine a different self. You must choose new thoughts, form new inner dialogues, and dwell in new emotional states. The world will not resist you. It will yield instantly to the change within. It always has, even when you weren't aware of it. Every experience you've had was drawn to you not by accident, but by resonance. You attracted what you were in harmony with. The mirror cannot lie, and it cannot show anything that is not already held before it. So if you want to change what you see, do not reach outward, reach inward. Assume the identity of the one who already lives the life you desire. Feel it, believe it, live from it, and the world will reflect that new state just as faithfully as it did the old one. Light. Nothing stands between you and your ideal but the assumption that it is separate from you. But the mirror does not show distance. It shows likeness. Become the likeness of what you desire, and it will appear. It must. Because the outer is only ever the echo of the inner. Not because life requires no action, but because right action flows naturally from the right state of being. When you are aligned within, when your desire is accepted as already fulfilled, there is no struggle, no forcing, no chasing. Things come to you, unfold for you, arise through you without resistance. What you need shows up not through strain, but through synchronicity, through the quiet guidance of intuition, through paths opening that logic could never have predicted. Most people have been taught that effort is virtue, that only through force can something be achieved. But that kind of effort is born of lack, born of separation, of believing the thing you want is far away and must be earned. In that state, action becomes anxious and heavy, often working against the very outcome being pursued. The energy you bring to something determines how it responds to you. If you act from fear, you get more fear. If you act from fullness, the world mirrors that abundance. True creation does not come from desperation. It comes from stillness. When you relax into the assumption that all is done, your actions are not frantic. They are inspired. You do not act to make something happen. You act because from your inner conviction it already has. There is no rush, no proving, no grasping. You walk through life as one who knows, and in that knowing, the need for strain disappears. This does not mean you do nothing. It means you do only what feels aligned with the state of fulfillment. You trust the timing. You trust the unfolding. You trust that the same intelligence that dreamed your desire into being also knows how to bring it into form. When you try to control every step, you are saying, I don't believe it's mine unless I make it happen. But when you let go, when you rest in the state of the end, life begins to move effortlessly in your favor. Effortlessness is not laziness, it is clarity. It is the quiet certainty that what you desire is already set in motion, and your role is to remain attuned to it, open to it, ready to receive. In this way, even when action is required, it feels light. It feels inevitable. There is no resistance in it. It is the natural next step, not a burdensome task. The more you force, the more you signal to the world that you are not ready. The more you trust, the more it responds to that trust with ease, with flow, with grace. You do not need to fight for what is already yours. You simply need to become the version of yourself who receives it without question. From that state, action is effortless and results are inevitable. It is the bridge between imagination and reality. It is not enough to merely think of your desire. You must feel it as real. Thought alone is sterile unless it is infused with the emotion of fulfillment. Feeling is the substance that gives life to the image you hold. It is the emotional acceptance that what you have imagined is already yours, here and now. Without feeling, there is no magnetism, no power to attract, no force to mold reality around your inner vision. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you are conscious of being. And feeling is the surest indicator of that state. If you feel anxious, you are in a state of lack, regardless of how beautiful your affirmations sound. If you feel peace, gratitude, or joy, when you imagine your desire, then you are in a state of fulfillment. And that feeling will echo out into the world and shape it accordingly. The feeling must be dominant, not just a passing emotion, but a sustained inner conviction. This is why daydreaming without emotional involvement brings little change. It's not what you visualize once or twice. It's what you feel consistently that determines what hardens into fact. The world does not respond to occasional thoughts, but to deeply felt truths, to assumptions that live beneath the surface of your mind and color the tone of your daily life. Feeling creates a vibrational match. It aligns you with the version of reality where your desire is already fulfilled. It draws that version of events into your experience, not by force, but by resonance. When your inner world is saturated with the feeling of already done, the outer world must comply. It is law. To feel something is to make it real within. The subconscious mind accepts what is impressed upon it through feeling, not logic. You may say, I am successful 1,000 times, but if you still feel inadequate, your life will continue to reflect that inner truth. But if, in a single quiet moment, you deeply feel the reality of being successful, feel the weight of it, the confidence, the ease, it will begin to shape your world from that point forward. Feeling is not a step to be added. It is the heart of the process. It is the secret not because it is hidden, but because it is often overlooked. People search for techniques, words, or rituals, but the real power lies in the simple act of emotionally embodying your desire. To feel is to believe, and to believe is to become. Once the feeling of the wish fulfilled becomes natural to you, reality has no choice. It must mirror that feeling into form. To mentally and emotionally dwell in the state where your desire is already fulfilled. It is the act of assuming the outcome has already happened and allowing that assumption to shape your thoughts, your actions, your entire perception of life. You are not hoping it will come, nor are you waiting for a sign. You are dwelling in the result, resting in the knowing that it is already yours. When you live in the end, you no longer think of your desire, you think from it. You view the world through the eyes of someone who has what they once longed for. You feel the relief, the gratitude, the satisfaction of having received it. And from that feeling, your world begins to change. It must, because reality always mirrors the internal state you occupy most dominantly. Living in the end is not about physical action first. It's about inward identity. It's about becoming, in consciousness, the version of yourself who already has the thing you seek. When that version feels natural to you, when you no longer question it, when it no longer feels like pretending, that is when movement begins in the unseen, and soon after in the seen. Outer change is simply the echo of that inner shift. This principle requires faith, not in something outside of you, but in the creative power of your own awareness. You don't need to know how it will happen. The bridge of events will unfold naturally. Your only task is to persist in the assumption that it has already happened. That persistence becomes the seed from which the reality grows. To live in the end is to refuse to return to the old story. It is to deny the evidence of the senses when they contradict your desire, and to remain loyal to the unseen reality you've claimed within. Even if nothing appears to be changing, you remain unmoved, because you've already crossed over in consciousness. And once you do, the world must follow. This is not fantasy. It is creation. You are not escaping reality, you are directing it. Every moment you dwell in the feeling of your fulfilled desire, you are reinforcing the path to its manifestation. You are telling your subconscious, this is who I am now, and your world must rearrange to match that self. When you live in the end, you stop looking for confirmation and become the confirmation. You don't chase outcomes because you already possess them internally. That shift in identity is the cause. The effects, whether in days or weeks, will come as naturally as the sunrise. Because to live in the end is to align yourself with truth before it becomes visible. And once you do that, its appearance is inevitable. The world does not bend to force. It bends to the quiet authority of the state you occupy. A state is more than a mood or passing emotion. It is a level of consciousness, a way of being, a felt identity that includes your beliefs, your expectations, and your assumptions about life and yourself. When you shift your state, everything else changes automatically. The people, events, and circumstances that appear in your life do so in perfect harmony with the state you are in. You've been taught to fight for what you want, to push against resistance, to hustle and strain. But all of that effort, if done from a state of lack or unworthiness, simply reinforces the very reality you're trying to escape. Struggle is not creative, it is reactive. It says, I do not have, and the world echoes back the state. You cannot outperform the state you're in. You may work endlessly, but if you do so from a consciousness of fear or doubt, your results will reflect that vibration. Lasting change comes when you shift who you are being. A new state naturally expresses itself in new actions, new opportunities, and new outcomes. You don't have to figure out every detail. States contain their own logic, their own pathways, their own set of possibilities. When you dwell in the state of confidence, for example, confident behavior arises spontaneously. When you enter the state of abundance, you begin to think and feel and attract as someone who already has more than enough. This is why some people succeed seemingly without effort, because they are operating from a state in which success is natural to them. And it's why others struggle despite their best intentions, because their actions are rooted in a state that contradicts what they seek. Change the state, and you change what flows through you. Restricting stops despite that, because they are operating from a state in which success is natural. To shift a state, you don't need to manipulate the outer world. You need only to withdraw attention from the state you no longer want to occupy and move mentally and emotionally into the one that aligns with your desire. You do this through imagination, through feeling, through the assumption that you already are who you want to be. As you persist in that new state, it becomes your dwelling place, and your world reorganizes itself around it. There's no need to exhaust yourself trying to fix the external. The world is only responding to the signal you're sending from within. Struggle tries to move things from the outside. States change the world from the inside. And when you live in the right state, effort becomes light, doors open, and what once felt distant arrives with ease. In the midst of chaos, uncertainty, and longing, The greatest power you have is not in doing more, striving harder, or seeking answers endlessly. It is in the quiet confidence of knowing, deep, unshakable knowing, that what you desire is already yours. Stillness is not inactivity. It is a state of inner surrender where you rest fully in the reality of your fulfilled desire, free from doubt and struggle. When you are still, you are no longer tossed by every external circumstance or by the restless mind that questions how, when, what if. You stand firmly in the place of trust and assurance, silently commanding your world by the power of your consciousness. This stillness sends a clear message to the universe. You have ceased resisting, you have ceased doubting, and you have aligned with the truth of your wish fulfilled. Being still does not mean ignoring the outer world or passively waiting. It means withdrawing your attention from the distractions of lack and holding steady in the feeling of having what you want. It is in this state of deep knowing that your subconscious mind is impressed most powerfully, and it begins to orchestrate the unseen forces on your behalf. Movement will come, but it will come naturally, in perfect timing, guided by the intelligence that governs all things. And when you rush, struggle, or try to force outcomes, you interrupt the flow. You send mixed signals that confuse your own consciousness and delay manifestation. Stillness is the space where creation happens. It is the fertile ground where the seed of your desire grows into reality. You plant the seed through imagination and feeling, then you cultivate it through patience and unwavering faith. Your job is not to manage every detail or wrestle with circumstances. Your job is to embody the state of fulfillment, to live from the end, and to rest in the certainty that the universe is working tirelessly behind the scenes. You do this by being still, not as a sign of giving up, but as a powerful act of surrender and alignment. In that stillness, the knowing arises not as a hope, but as a certainty that all is done. And from that knowing, all things necessary will fall into place. Your stillness is your strength. Your knowing is your command. The outer world must follow what you hold firm within. I remember this above all. The power to shape your reality lies not in force or frantic effort, but in the calm assurance of your inner state. When you choose stillness over struggle, knowing over doubt, and live fully in the end of your desire fulfilled, you become the silent architect of your world. Trust in this truth. Your consciousness is the seed from which all things grow. Embrace your power to create effortlessly, for the universe is always responding to the reality you hold within. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the master of your destiny. So relax, believe deeply, and watch as everything you desire manifests with ease and grace.